Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So good to see all of you here at Unity of Bellingham. My name is Dyann Castro-Wehr, and I'm your platform assistant today. And today, Reverend Frank will be giving the talk, and it is called, We Need More Plates. Think on that. What do you think? Any ideas? I'm so curious. What's going through your head right now? We need more plates. Okay, and we'd love to welcome our music mystery today, which is Heart and Soul. Yay.
I'm held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me with every breath, with every step. God is holding me. 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 I'm held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me. God is holding with every breath, with every step. God is holding me. 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 God is holding me.
I am being held. Can we allow that to truly take place in our experience in this moment now? I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that, or have a soft focus, and just hold those words in your heart and allow that experience to sink in. I am being held. And allowing your breath to take you further into stillness. Let's just see what happens with a few moments of allowing ourselves to feel completely held. Weightless. Burdens can slip away. Tensions can and loosen. Breath moves. Sinking into a place of peace. I invite you to release anyone or any situation right now that may be in need of prayer or a blessing. And I invite you to speak the names of anybody who is in need of prayer now. With faith, we affirm that these folks are held as well right now. We affirm goodness and love surrounding them, healing, moving, leading. We affirm they are being held as well. I am held, completely held. From this place of peace, I'm going to read you a short poem by the poet Hafiz. It's called Hafiz, the True Lover of God. And I invite you to allow these words just to gently fall into your heart space. Hafiz writes, I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy. My heart is too heavy. Heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance, a sacred dance for life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift up others. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we might dance, and that our dancing might be contagious. So we'll take those words into a few more moments into the silence. In gratitude, we return our thoughts to the room, knowing that that place is always available, always present, and walk today knowing that you are held.
All we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. All we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. Twists and turns, unexpected, day by day, moving on. I don't have all the answers, come what may, right or wrong. And all we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. Crashing waves touch the shore. Time moves faster every day. Ebb and flow, no control. All that's left to say is all we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. And help each other through.
Isn't that lovely? Oh, I had so much to say today. Which was an hour, but I got 20 minutes. Go. Actually, working on this last night, I realized, okay, this is crazy. Let's separate what's going on. How about make that 2 talks and keep within reason today? So let's do that. Part 1. First off, Mary and Frank, Liz's family's here. Liz Layton's family's here, her sister Mary and brother-in-law Frank. And so thank you so much for being here today. Yeah, they've been all week supporting with Greg and Deborah and others, working through Liz's home and all the things that need to be done after someone makes their transition. So, blessings, guys. We're so glad you're here. In case you didn't know, we love Liz. We love Liz. Yeah. So thanks. So I had today a parable I want to share with you. And if you look it up, the way the scripture was written, like if you look at the Gospel of Matthew, And you look at an extant copy, it's just Greek words, and they just kind of go through. And when we put these stories together, we gave them titles. The titles aren't actually in there, but if you go through whatever copy of New Testament Christian scripture that you might have, you will see it's broken up into all these sections. And this particular section, and I looked at a number of places, they called it the parable of the unforgiving servant. I want to change the name of it. Why? Because I can, because somebody just made that up. I'll make up my own. I'm going to call it, this parable is called, We Belong to Each Other. We belong to each other. So if I share this parable with you right now, one of the things I think, and you can read in a lot of the people who have done some kind of translation or exposition, explaining this particular parable. And I gotta tell you, sometimes I read how people understand this, and I literally cringe. I'm like, oh! But my question is, do we belong to each other? I got that from Gregory Boyle, this person who started work with people who are coming out of prison and homeboy industries and working with these people. And he said once, I read this, it moved me so much. He says, I only have two philosophies: that everybody is inherently good. Oh, do we want to read our second principle again? Everybody is inherently good, and that we belong to each other. There's a sense of a oneness. There's a sense of a connection. The truth of our nature is this belonging. So to understand this parable, I want to jump back for a second and look at sort of conceptual ways that my understanding of how we often think about our relationship with the divine and how we look at things of God. And so, as always, I came up with some kind of way to do it involving some kind of things from the kitchen. Today it's bowls. And so I just want to explain a few concepts. Now, by the way, I am not making any one of these. I'm going to share like 4 or 5 of them with you. And I am not saying any one is better than the other. I'm not making anyone right, and I'm not making any of these concepts wrong. But what I do want to do is suggest or offer a way of looking at the relationship we have with the divine in a way that at least feels most comfortable for me, and as a matter of fact, is the reason I align myself with the energies that I read in Unity, and not only Unity, which started in the late 1800s, but there is a thread of this that goes back thousands of years, and you can find it in what one of my best Unity teachers, Eric Butterworth, calls the antecedents to new thought. Like, what came before, like Dr. Emily Cady and Emma Curtis Hopkins and Myrtle and Charles Fillmore? What came before that? There is a long thread of mystic Christian, mystic spiritual tradition that leads up. And I learned this first before ever I knew about Unity. And when I found Unity, I went like, oh, I know that. I remember, that's what resonates for me. And I think for many of you. And the first one I want to talk to you about is a concept that is often called theism. Theism, theos, Greek for God. Theism, pretty common way of thinking. And theism is something like this. Just imagine that this big bowl is God. Yes, God's a big yellow bowl in this model. And this over here represents humanity. And maybe even we can say this little bowl represents nature. Not us, in this model. And what happens is there's something about the divine that says, I am creating this humans and this nature, but there's a gap. There's a gap here. And we are sitting over here going, well, we would like to connect with this other, this sacred other, this thing we see as God. And so we pray. And the prayers might feel something like this in the theistic model. I'm here, God's there, so I'm yelling over, dear God, I need something. Listen to me, heed my voice. Now, when things get rough in life, you may very well find yourself going, dear God, help me too. So I'm not saying, and I'm not knocking this, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong about this. As a matter of fact, it's fairly common in our literature that you would read that this kind of model happens. And not only that, but and this is a more recent thing that comes out of Enlightenment tradition, out of the Renaissance and then the Enlightenment, is that I see that there's a part of me that relates to this, and there's another part of me that relates to nature. And I'm split. There's a me that's spiritual, and there's a me that's natural, and this part is not so good, and this part's aiming to get back over here, somehow to move back and get united to the divine. So there's a split. Not only is there a dualism between human and divine, there's also a dualism between our humanity as spiritual beings and our nature as physical beings incarnate. We got things really split up. And if you want to have another model, there's some bowls in the kitchen. And in the end, if we did it right, we end up over here. And if we did it wrong, we're really separated. We are in the bowl in the kitchen. And you know what I'm talking about. And we don't want to go there. That's the model. That's the model. Okay, theism. We got that. And it seems somewhat familiar, right? And maybe for some of us, we go, yeah, every Monday and Friday, I'm a theist. But there's other models as well. One that we know really well, and this has to do because we live in the United States. And so much of our founding documents were based on a different kind of model, and what we call that model is deism. Kind of the same thing. Instead of theism, theos means God in Latin. Deism means God in Greek. Deism means God in Dios. It's Latin, right? And in this model, the divine came into humanity and sort of poured a lot of principle. This is how you live the sacred life. And now I'm out of here. So for the deist, yeah, there might be a God. I don't know, probably. But imbued humanity with principle. You read this in the Declaration of Independence, where Jefferson writes about, according to nature and nature's laws and the divine laws, we pledge ourselves to each other by sacred providence. This is full in the Declaration of Independence and in the amendments, and you see it also in the Constitution. Deist ways of thinking about our relationship with the divine. And whatever that is over there, but God's taken off a long time ago. I'm not saying it's not there, whatever that God is, whatever divine, whatever spirit, whatever the ultimate creator of the universe. But here's what we got, and we can live a soup of principle. So if you're a theist on Monday and Thursday, maybe you're a deist on Tuesday and Saturday. I don't know. Because sometimes, this doesn't sound so unfamiliar to us, right? We can feel into this. There's another way, and this one's called pantheist. And pan means everything. And we look at this and we go, okay, nature, humans, all of it, that is it. There's nothing else. It's just the divine is nature. And what you see and everything that there is nature, is human. That's it. God in all. That's it. God's in everything. So we have the pantheistic model. And a lot of scientists sometimes, people who really get clued into seeing quantum, and you read Einstein, he called himself a pantheist. He said, I see in the beauty of science, in the beauty of the quantum field, in this majesty of what all is unfolding in science, there's God. That's it. In the world. Maybe on Saturdays you're a pantheist. And there's one other way, and I'll just offer you, this is where I land. And not that in all these other ways, again, not making anything right or wrong. I just want to offer this way of thinking about the world for your consideration, and also from my reading of Butterworth and the film, Charles Fillmore, this is kind of where they landed. And this sense is the divine is the all of it. What's the first unity principle we said today? Say it to me. God is good, present in all things, and present in all things. And the holiness of God is panentheism. In and totally imbued with the divine. It's kind of where I land, including nature. So there's a sense, and what's beautiful about this, and so many of the unity teachers, I'll quote Charles Fillmore, Unity. For some of you who's new, the co-founders were a married couple, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, following a bunch of other of the teachers of New Thought at the turn of the 18th to the 1900s. And this is really beautiful. He says, let me start here. God is love. But if we mean by this that God is the love that loves a particular child better than all other children, or that loves some particular father or mother better than all fathers and mothers, or that loves one person better than some other person, or that has a chosen people whom God loves better than some other people who are not chosen, then we should say God is unloving. God does not exercise power. God is the all-present and all-quiet powerlessness from which human beings generate that which is called power. God does not manifest intelligence. God is that unobtrusive knowing in everyone, which, when acknowledged, flashes forth into intelligence. So God, we're not looking for, God, you be the intelligence. The intelligence arises through the manifestation of us. God is not matter, nor confined in any way in that idea of substance terms matter. It's the intangible essence which people have formed and called matter. God is not loving, God is love. Let's say this again. God is not loving us. God is love. And we are in and one with that love. Then the love we express is what? God. When we're loving one another, you could say we are Godding one another. When we are experiencing life, we are experiencing God. We could say in the theistic model, God gives us life. In the panentheistic model, we are the life of God. See, it's a subtle difference. God is love, the great heart of the universe and of people, from which is drawn forth all feeling, sympathy, emotion, and all that goes to make up joy of existence. Yet God does not love anybody. God does not love anything. God is the love in everybody and in everything. God is love. Human beings become loving by permitting that which is God to find expression in word and act in what they do. So finally, the point to be clearly established is that God exercised none of God's attributes except through the inner consciousness of the universe and through the inner consciousness of you. I found way before I knew Unity this mystic. Her name was Mechtild of Magdeburg. I read this piece. It was a teacher, Matthew Fox, taught me this. He wrote original blessings as opposed to original sin, which isn't there anywhere in Scripture, by the way. Original blessings is all in the Scripture. You were born originally blessed. Nothing's wrong with you. Well, some of us kind of screw up, might wonder if there is something wrong with this. But ontologically, there's no inherent sinfulness. There's inherent goodness, an inherent beauty, an inherent lovingness, an inherent truth. If we are here, we are able to express the divine essence, which is life and love, and go through the 12 powers, wisdom, zeal, imagination, love and intelligence and order and life and expression and letting go-ness. That's the nature of who we are. That's the nature of who we are. And Mechtild said, the day of my spiritual awakening was the day I knew, and I knew that all things were in God, and God was in all things. And the interesting thing about this, when you're in God and God is in us, and we're in God's nature and it's expressing, that means that there is some aspect of this. Okay, ready? Okay, sit down, here we go. There is some aspect of the divine that is impacted by how we express that energy. So you say, well, God's all loving, and then it shows up and is expressed through us, in us, and as us. So therefore, as I express love or choose not to express love, that is actually impacting the very nature of God. In some ways that just melts my brain and I don't understand. We are actually having an impact on the divine flow of the universe. And one way of knowing this on a very tangible level is knowing that evolution is impacted by our actions. Climate change? We can change the very fabric of our planet. We're that powerful. And that's just actually a small example. That's an outpicturing of one energy of how we're choosing to think in consciousness, in our consciousness. That's what that's about. Okay, that was just the summary to the parable, y'all. But I want to just really sit in this energy. There, and some great panentheists of the day. You try to think in unity, go down the list, right? Butterworth, Eric Butterworth, and I think most of you know Eric Butterworth. He's a primer. He wrote in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, and he was a really profound thinker. And he said what came up with him was not only the Fillmores, but was also people like Emerson and people like Thoreau, and especially a guy called Meister Eckhart, and part of that movement, of the Begin movement of these women who lived in community and had mystical experiences like Mechthild of Magdeburg and others, Julian of Norwich, all these women and these men, and like Meister Eckhart, who talked about all these things of this panentheism. God, the expression that we make is God expressing. God can't, what is it that is God doesn't work without us. God is working through us. We want to change the world. It's that old thing. It's like, God's got it. Right, God's got it. How? How's God got it? We show up. We show up. And in panentheism, we're in God, and God is more. This doesn't totally take everything God is. There is still mystery. There is still transcendence. There is still that of the divine that, it's like, it's beyond my human capacity. Sure. So there's that sense of theism, but panentheism. It's in all, and it's through us and in us that it all takes place. Okay. I want to tell you and share with you a parable of Jesus. It comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18. And I want to suggest something about a parable. A parable is not an allegory. And what an allegory is this means this, and this means this, and this means this, and so that means here's the moral of the story. The parables of Jesus were not allegories with a moral to the story. I want to suggest that to you, that we don't read them that way. There's a tenant, a servant, there's a ruler, and then there's other servants. And it's really easy, and I've seen this, you can look this up, and if you look the parable up on the internet, you read all sorts of people's interpretations, they consistently say, well, the ruler's God, and the servant is me, and the other servant is somebody else, and it's all about a morality play, about what's right and wrong. And I want to suggest that's a very theistic model. I'm over here, God's over there, God did this, and I said this, and then I was either going to go, woo, I'm off to, the bowl in the background, or maybe I'm, it's heaven and hell. It's a total dualistic interpretation, and it's very allegorical. I want to suggest that a wisdom teacher like Jesus, who was this, and we say, here's Jesus, right? Here's us, and here's Jesus, God. I'm going to jump over and be a person for a while. Oops, sorry, Diane, that's her bowl. And then I'm going to jump back here into... I'm going to jump back and forth, right? And now I've left, I've resurrected, and good luck. But if Jesus was in God and God in all things and was the great way shower to suggest to us the way forward for all of us to live our Christ nature, then we all sit in here. And that's the wisdom teaching, right? So here's the parable. I'm suggesting, think of it in terms of the allness. Think of it in terms of it doesn't mean this means this and this means that. Think of it in terms of a spiritual vibration that Jesus is relaying to us, a vibration. He says, here's the way to be in harmony with divine mind. Here's the way to vibrate and align ourselves with divinity. Here's the way I'm asking you. Third principle, how we think changes our experience. It suggests a new way to think, a new way to feel, a new way to hold ourselves. And it starts like this. There was a ruler who decided to call all servants in and call them to account, settle the accounts. And so the ruler calls in the first servant and says, wait, you owe $100 million. Okay, I'm collecting. And the servant says, I can't pay that back. Probably says, I'll never be able to pay that back. And so the ruler says, then you need to go to the debtor's prison. You, your partner, all your children, your grandchildren. I'm putting you all to work for as long as it takes for you to pay off all that money. And the servant falls on the ground and says, I can't pay that. I'll never, please have mercy. Have mercy. And so the ruler says, yeah, all right. I won't send you to prison to pay the debt back. As a matter of fact, I forgive you. The whole thing. The whole thing. You owe nothing. So the servant goes out and is going down the street. Imagine how he felt, how she felt, how they felt. And then sees another servant. That servant owed the first servant $100. $100. He grabbed the second servant in a chokehold, was choking him. He's like, pay up, pay me. And the second servant says, I can't, I don't have it. And the first servant goes, then I'm going to throw you in debtor's prison till you pay it all off. Along with your partner and your kids. You all have to work till you pay me off. And the second servant falls to the ground. Have mercy, please have mercy. And you know what the first servant says? No. This is a hard story to tell. The first servant goes, no, pay up. And sends the second servant off to debtor's prison. Yeah. So a bunch of other people saw what happened. And they went and told the ruler. And the ruler called that first servant back in, said, come back in. We need to talk. And didn't I forgive you $100 million? And you couldn't find it in your heart to forgive this other person $100? I take it back. You're going to prison until you pay it all off. That's the story. How does that make you feel? I'm asking. How does it make you feel when you hear that story? It stinks. How does it make you feel? What comes up for you? Yeah, in who? Disappointed, yeah. Yeah, how else does it make you feel? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, it feels like, yeah, this is what happens. There's a consequence to this way of thinking, this way of being, this way of doing, of course, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you say it's all, yeah. The underlying tone of this story is forgiveness, isn't it? And it's easy to, now again, if you say, well, the ruler is God, and this was a person, and now this is a judgment of some sort, and this gets into some deep, but if this is the situation, the day of my spiritual awakening, all things were in God, God is all things. And in all things in my life, there is a vibration. There's a vibration that says, when I forgive, yeah. When I told you the 100 million were forgiven, were you sitting in your seat going, this is so cool, I love the story. There's like a trigger when something good happens to another person. I've seen this happen. I was in a grocery store. I told the lady that I was there to get some flowers for my wife because she was sick. No, I was there buying stuff because my wife was sick. She says, just a second, I'm in Trader Joe's. The lady walks up and comes back and he goes, on behalf of Trader Joe's, here's some flowers for your wife. This is a gift for you. And I'm sitting there at the checkout stand in Trader Joe's going, the lady who gave me the flowers is going, the two guys behind me in line are going, I don't know what just happened. All of us are all of a sudden touched by the generosity. Do you see? It's a vibrational pattern. Forgiveness has a harmony. Generosity has an energy. Kindness, compassion, understanding, they resonate out. They create the vibrational field that we all stand in. And then comes along the big thud. After all this expression, this is what happens. $100. And and the person didn't forgive back. And you just feel like, when I hear that story, I go, don't end the story that way, please. I don't like it. I don't like the story. Jesus. I'm saying this is Jesus. I'm not saying Jesus. I don't like it. I don't like the ending. But here's the beauty and the power of a wisdom teacher, the expression of the Christ that Jesus expressed. That's the point. Trying to needle us, trying to get under our skin a little bit. The wisdom teachers bring a lot of joy. Of course, it's all in joy. And also bring this energy up. Wake up. Wake up. And then I think to myself, I want to be in the vibration of the generosity, of the forgiveness, of this vibration of the goodness. And in what ways are me or my family or my community or my country deciding that, generosity is overrated. We don't need to do that. Or thinking about all that I've been given, all the gifts, all the joy, all the potentiality, all the possibility, all the freedom, all the life, it's almost overwhelming how much I feel like, the first servant. It's like, I'm just, all the possibility. Why would I not want to be in the energy to be the same? And how awful it feels when I choose otherwise. And I choose otherwise. We choose otherwise. I spoke yesterday, and I just touched back on this little piece. I want to mention this again. I'm going to mention it a few times this month. It's called playing, zero-sum thinking. The way I win is for you to lose. The way I get better is if I get more, you get less. But I want to get more. As opposed to standing in any kind of energy that has an enlightened imagination that says, there is a way, and let's work this out because everybody's invited, because you all belong. Nobody doesn't belong. We all belong. Who's coming to dinner? I don't know. We all belong. Get more plates. You knew you was going to come. Set the table. We all belong. And I mean that both, metaphorically, But isn't it fun to have people over? Get more plates. Get the extra chairs out of the garage. We all belong. In all sorts of ways. They say this is the unforgiving tenant. I go, it's the parable of belonging. I want to feel in that energy of the first person. I want to feel, the ruler's not like, is it God? Is it me? No, it's just a story. Don't overthink it. It's a story about energy. It's a story about wisdom and a vibrational match to generosity and to forgiveness and to seeing a bigger picture and not being so, holding it into ourselves. It feels, I don't want to feel that way. And in all ways, looking for ways of showing up in the world, with showing up in every layer of my life, from individual to couple to family to community to country to city to church. The whole thing, to be in that vibrational match of generosity. Why? Because that brings me joy. So what is the solution to so many of the ills in this world? Use our imagination to find the ways that bring joy. To find the ways to bring joy. It's like, what do we do? I'm in fear. Well, okay, let's get out of that and let's find a way to bring joy. Let's find a way to be loved. Let's find that story is about a vibrational match. Let's get into that match, right? Do you hear what I'm saying? And this involves, and so in little ways, and I guess one of the fun things about our Monday morning, and everybody's invited to this, and we do this at 10 o'clock or 10:30 on Monday mornings. It's called Spiritual Conversations. And ideally, we talk about whatever we discussed on Sunday, but man, we get into like, yeah, well, what's the next step? If the divine is expressing in, as, and through me, and there is a need for divine expression, for God expressing in the world right now, then here we are. Time to express. But find a way to do it, because the zero-sum thinking doesn't say, well, I feel like I'm losing and they're winning, so I'm going to turn around, I'm going to win and they're going to lose. That's still zero-sum thinking. It takes the creative mind to lift us all up, to lift us all into that vibration, all into that forgiveness thinking. How do we do that? How do we do that? Oh, go ahead.
Our founding fathers did it by eliminating the debtor's prisons. In the Constitution, you are allowed to bankrupt, to start over,
Wow.
and have a seat at the table.
Wow, it's almost like right out of the gospel. Did you hear what he said? Yeah. That's good, yeah. So these things have energy. They have resonance. So I want to suggest that in all things, little, small, in our families or in the country, whatever it might be, let's find a way to stay with that vibrational match of generosity between me and others, between my country and other countries, between the world and the universe, between humanity and nature, between humanity and nature. Can we be generous to the universe? Or do we think, well, we're all in with divine, but nature, no, this is in it too. It's this oneness, because it's panentheism. Seeing all things in God and God in all things with joy. Find the solution that brings joy, because that's going to give us power. The first story, the big forgiveness, that gives us power. That gives us enthusiasm. That gives us the insight for where to go next. So let's end this with a meditation. I want to share this meditation with you again. Spirit loves to dance, right? Let's go back. Let's go back to joy and just sit for a minute as we close. And I want to share, Dyann shared this beautiful poem with this Persian medieval mystic, this poet, this panentheistic poet named Hafiz. He says, sometimes I forget that I was made for joy. Just take that in, breathe it in. I was made for joy, but my mind gets too busy and my heart gets heavy to remember that I was created to dance. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift up all things. O Holy One, disentangle my feet from all that ensnares. Open my heart so that we may dance, and our dancing will be contagious. And our dancing will be contagious. Take this in just a moment of silence. In the silence. There's a couple announcements, of course there is. Today the chaplain is Dyann. So if you want to, for some of you who are new, if you want to have a moment of confidential prayer, it's in the Love Spoken Here room over here. It's our little chapel, and feel free to meet Dyann over there. And if the door is shut, just wait your turn and feel free to have a moment of prayer. Next week is a potluck. So Rosemary, thank you for all you do. You'll be alone. No Liz. I know, it's going to be very odd. But speaking of that, it's kind of an interesting thing. But just to put out that Dyann has been doing podium, and Sherry, but two of our key people who have been service assistants have been Liz and Carrie, are two very beautiful human beings that have left us this month, at least left us in this incarnation. They are our dear ancestors, and their prayers are still with us, of course. So we need a couple more people who be willing to be a service assistant, which you see would sort of lead the thing. And also it means being able to craft a meditation or a contemplation for the congregation. If you're interested in being a new service assistant, you can see me or see Dyann. Well, she'll be chaplain. See me. That would be great. Or call the office this week. Also, this is last, we have 30 days. Our annual meeting is the last Sunday of March. And so we have candidates for the board, but we also like to throw it open to just say anybody who's interested in the board, if our selection committee hasn't spoken to you, we just we didn't know that you were interested, and you are interested, please see Greg. Probably best to see Greg after service. He's part of the selection committee. And let us know if you're interested for a 3-year term on the board of directors for Unity of Bellingham. And by the way, it is some work, and we also have a lot of fun. Both. Am I right? Yeah. It's a beautiful ministry. George, President George. Next week, potluck, and then, so this first Sunday, coming next week, we always have potluck first Sunday, will be just a regular potluck. But the first Sunday of April, our friends Mary and Frank will be back, and other family members. And that Sunday, I'm not going to go an hour. We won't go an hour and 15 minutes. We'll go like 50. Do you think we can do it? And then we'll take a break. And then right after, we're going to have our celebration of life for Liz Layton. And of course, we're going to have a potluck because of course. And the only thing would be for that potluck, bring double. Because we expect there'll be a lot of other people who will show up at 11 o'clock for the celebration of life for Liz. So that's in about a month and a week. Give people a chance to hear about it, and we'll get the message out so they can come and celebrate Liz with us. Okay?